Welcome to Big City, Small Town, the weekly podcast all about San Antonio and the people who make it go and grow. I'm your host, Bob Rivard. This week's guests come from the University of Texas at San Antonio and the Honors College. Dr. Jill Fleuriet is Vice Provost for Honors Education and Professor of Anthropology. Her undergraduate degree in anthropology is from Harvard College, and she holds both a PhD and an MA in anthropology from Stanford University. Dr. Fleuriet has roots in South Texas, having grown up in Harlingen in the Rio Grande Valley, and comes from a family with a long history of professional and volunteer service. Dr. Fleuriet, welcome to Big City, Small Town.
So delighted to be here. Thank you.
And you have with you two wonderful students from the Honors College, Brandon Aviado.
Yes.
Brandon, welcome.
Thank you.
And Vicki Kidder. Vicki, welcome to you too.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Glad to have all three of you on. We've never had three people on the Big City, Small Town podcast, so you're making history for us.
Awesome.
Jill, why don't we start with you? I don't think a lot of our audience members are aware that UTSA has an honors college and that the academic rigor that is brought to that is an option that people whose children are looking at the leading public universities in Texas should be looking at the possibility of attending UTSA and the Honors College.
The best way to think about an honors college at a place like UTSA is a small liberal arts college nestled within all of the resources and supports of a research-intensive public university in the city of San Antonio. And honors colleges provide intensive and intentional community, curriculum, financial support, and academic coaching for students who are curious, committed, and accomplished.
Well, one thing that's attracted me to it is the option for experiential learning. Would you talk about what that is and what that means for students?
And this is where I get so excited about our curriculum. I should mention at the outset that we have about 2,600 students and we're growing. So we want to be 1 in 10 undergraduate students. We have that kind of talent. It abounds in our undergraduate population. And it's a matter of reaching them and bringing them into the fold of the Honors College. So experiential learning, what does that mean? It's a buzzword in education these days. For me, it means you learn, you apply or do, you reflect, and then you repeat. And you do it over and over again. So for example, Bob, what was your favorite class in college and why?
Oh, that's hard to say, but it would probably be the professor is no longer at UTSA, but he is the person that sensitized me to the internal colonization of the Mexican-American population in 20th century Texas, South Texas.
And why did that resonate?
Because I thought I knew my Texas history and politics and culture, and I realized how little I knew and how much I was able to learn from him.
And you were able to connect it with your experience in the Valley as a journalist, I would expect as well.
I was,
right?
And I was able to apply it as my in my work at the time as the executive editor at the Express News.
Perfect example of experiential learning. You're learning something, you're applying, you're thinking it through, and then you're doing it over and over again. We know from all the educational research that takes you from surface learning down to deep learning, and the stuff sticks, and it makes you engage with your community. And so we have a curriculum where students don't do just one of those, they do 6 of them. And then if you want to graduate with distinction, you do even more than that. So what we do is we take each individual student, figure out what their professional, civic, social, personal goals are, and then we give them the resources and the coaching, the courses, the out-of-classroom experiences, and the funding to be able to achieve those. They end up doing 6 of those, what we call experiences in the Honors College.
How do students get in?
We have multiple pathways because we want it to be accessible. A very real critique of honors colleges in the past is that they were elitist. And most honors colleges today will say, we are elite, but we're not elitist. So there's the traditional first year, you are admitted to UTSA, you get the Distinguished Presidential Scholarship, and that automatically gives you an invitation to the Honors College. If you're a transfer student and you get the Distinguished Transfer Scholarship, automatically invited. But then we also have students who may not turn on intellectually or academically or have the resources to until later. So each semester a student earns a 3.5 or higher, they're invited to join honors. And then we have program on-ramps too. So students who are really top-notch in one area, they go really, really deep and they're just extraordinary. We want to be able to accommodate and make it accessible for them as well.
So this isn't necessarily a matter of someone's high school transcript or their SAT score. and getting in.
Correct. That is a traditional way, but we also know, in addition to people clicking at different times, that people have different ways of expressing accomplishment, and we want to be able to recognize all of those.
So let's turn to a couple students in the Honors College and hear about your path to coming to San Antonio and to the school. Brandon, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So my education journey, I'm a non-traditional student, so I actually didn't come to UTSA until I was this year, and I'm 30. Prior to that, I was actually born and raised in Seattle, Washington. I didn't do super well in my public school experience, and not exactly because of the public school, but just because I think I wasn't mature. I didn't really value education as much. And when I left high school, I went into a vocational degree towards medical assisting. From there, I joined the military. I was an Army medic for 6 years. And it was after doing all that I kind of realized the importance of going to college, of having, even if the certificate is just a signal to employers, which I don't believe it is, but even if that's all it was, it's still in our reality important, right? So after that, I did a little construction, went back to school for a bit.
Can I ask, did you come to Fort Sam?
So I did. I was an Army medic, so I was training here. I actually came here again a couple of times during my time in the military. And I'm here now because my wife is stationed here. She's current military. So I'm not going to say I'm basically a San Antonio, but I've been here a couple times now.
And what propelled you into the Honors College as opposed to just being a student at UTSA?
So when I was in the military, I was attached to the Airborne Infantry as a medic, and the Airborne is kind of a heightened experience in the military. You're not just, and I don't say just a soldier, but you're not just a soldier. You're doing high op tempo missions. So I was in another country every 2 to 3 months. You're always on call during certain parts of the year. It's an intense experience, and it kind of built this sense of I want that with everything else I do. And so it was nice to have that here at UTSA because it gave me that heightened level of what you said, where we're elite but we're not elitist.
It sounds like the military gave you purpose in life.
It did, yeah. I mean, especially considering how I was not doing so great in school before that.
And Brandon, I asked you before we got on camera about your last name, Aviato, which I had not heard before, and you told me that it was Filipino.
Yes.
And are your parents from the Philippines?
So my grandparents on my mom's side are from the Philippines, but I'm actually part Mexican as well. I'm half and half. And my grandfather is actually from RGV, and my grandmother's from Coahuila.
Well, you're in exactly the right city, my man.
Yes.
Do you have people in your family that have graduated from college, or are you first generation?
On my mom's side, I do. Not so much on my dad's side, but on my mom's side, my mom got her MBA from UW Foster's when I was around 10, 11. And my grandfather had a degree in engineering from Seattle U.
And what's your major, and where do you hope to go from here after you graduate?
It's kind of a loaded question, but it's economics is my major. I'm still not 100% sure where I want to go. I spent most of my time in medicine, and then I decided to pivot after some experiences I had in college, positive experiences. And I'm still unsure yet of what that's going to be, whether that's public or private.
All right, Vicki, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Vicki. This is my last semester at UTSA. I've been a student here for 8 semesters. My journey to UTSA was a little bumpy. I am a traditional, first year admit, been here for 4 years. But so I grew up in Rockville, Maryland. And, I kind of always thought that I would attend the University of Maryland. But the system that sent my transcript to Maryland actually didn't send it by the early action deadline, and I didn't know. So I was disqualified from any financial aid. I was disqualified from joining their honors college or any special programs. And kind of being not an elitist, but kind of an elite group was important to me coming out of high school, because in high school, I was in the magnet program, which was just a smaller group of students who took a bit more rigorous courses. And I wanted a community like that in college. So being in an honors college was really important to me. But also going to college at an affordable price was something that was, top priority for me. So I started to do research, and I figured out that Texas has a law where if you get a certain amount of scholarship from a public institution, they'll grant you in-state tuition, for that year.
You just taught me something. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I like your research skills.
Yeah. And I was like, it seems like Texas is the only state that does this. And then I discovered UTSA's Distinguished Presidential Scholarship, which is a renewable 4-year scholarship. And if you get over $1,000 a year, then, they'll give you an in-state tuition waiver. So, I applied to UTSA. Luckily, I got the Distinguished Presidential Scholarship. I got in-state tuition, making college really affordable for me. And I got automatically admitted into the Honors College. So I was like, great, it's also in a city. I have, a great scholarship going for me. I'm in the Honors College. So, UTSA set me right up for success when I thought at one point I wasn't even going to go to a 4-year college.
Wow, that's a terrific story. And here you are in your last semester.
Yeah.
On the cusp of graduation. What comes next?
Well, I'm a double major, so I finished my political science degree up last semester.
Oh, we have that in common.
Yeah. And I'm finishing up my economics degree this semester. I do want to attend law school, and then after law school, specialize in some intersection of law and economic policy. But I do want to take a gap year because that's becoming more common for people that want to go to law school. K through JD is not really the thing anymore. It's more so taking 1 to 2 gap years and working and then, going to law school. So I either want to spend a year working in Austin or I applied for the Fulbright scholarship. Another great thing about UTSA is that they have an office of nationally competitive awards where there's people there that specialize in helping you winning huge scholarships. So I applied for the Fulbright scholarship to be an English teaching assistant in Vietnam. I'm currently going through the interview process, but UTSA has also been super helpful in setting me up for that for my gap year.
Oh, well, congratulations. So your gap year could be a year living abroad as a Fulbright scholar.
Yeah.
When will you find out?
My interview is in March, and then I think I'll find out probably early April.
Well, I want to be sure that you tell us so I can tell people in our Monday Musings newsletter that a guest was a successful applicant for a Fulbright scholarship.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know.
I wonder if both of you have had intern opportunities or not. We had an intern from the Honors College here at Big City Small Town a couple of years ago who was a wonderful addition to the team and right when we were starting out. And I've always been impressed with everybody that I've met out there at the college that are in the program, in the school. Had you had some work opportunities that are related to either your own career paths or your interests?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I've had an internship or some kind of job pretty much for every semester I've been in college. My first semester, I went on the UTSA website for Handshake. And
what's Handshake?
It's kind of a site where it's like a localized site for a bunch of career opportunities. So it's like Indeed, I'd say, but it's geared towards UTSA students. And you put, your major and your interest in, and they can match you up with different internships or jobs that you're interested in. So I found a position as an intern for a city councilwoman through that. My first semester at UTSA, I moved in, and then right after that, I got the internship through Handshake.
Who with?
Anna Sandoval. She's no longer a councilwoman, but that was a really great experience.
She was a very high-profile councilwoman in her day.
Yeah, and she was so nice and she was amazing to work with. And I got more exposed to the San Antonio community that way. But I wanted a bit more, state experience, federal experience, because, I do want to work in the public sector with the government after law school. So UTSA has this thing called legislative fellows, and they basically send a select cohort of students to Austin to live in Austin full-time, work at the legislature full-time as an intern. So I did that during the 88th legislative session.
2023?
Yeah. I interned for the Texas Senate Finance Committee, and that was amazing as an economics major, and my rent was fully paid for. I didn't have any financial stress because UTSA fully covered me financially.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, if I didn't have that financial support, I probably couldn't have done that. But luckily, I was able to go there and not worry about finances and fully immerse myself in the experience. And UTSA's government relations team helped connect me with my office, one that, really ties into my interest as an economics major. And then the year after that, I kind of pivoted towards the federal government. So the UT system has a program called the Archer Fellowship Program, and that's basically the Austin program, but in Washington, D.C. So, I applied for that and luckily I got in. And once again, UTSA paid for my tuition, my rent, they even covered the plane ticket. Everything was fully paid for so I could go to Washington, D.C. and fully immerse myself in the experience. And through guidance from UTSA and the UT system staff, I interned at the White House for a semester with their Council of Economic Advisors. So through the Honors College, I've received a lot of support, a lot of great experiential learning opportunities. And honestly, being in the Honors College has changed my life. I have so many new connections, so many more experiences than I could have ever hoped for coming into UTSA as an undergrad. So, if you're interested in maybe interning for the White House one day, I would definitely go the honors route.
What an incredible opportunity you've had over the space of 4 years here. How about you, Brandon?
Yeah, so I'm actually currently right now doing 2 internships, one with Yahoo on their business development and partnerships team, and the other with, it's kind of a research internship that was kind of created uniquely from an experience I had with the Honors College. Last semester, we did a mini competition where you and a team of people compete against other teams within the honors ecosystem to find a solution for a problem. For last semester, I think it was the first time I did this, it was understanding the issue for affordable housing with housing insurance, with rising housing insurance costs, and generating a solution that could kind of answer that. My team didn't win, unfortunately, but the solution that we came up with and my professionalism while working with the client they had was impressed the client. And so he basically created an internship for us to continue the project and actually develop the solution. And that's purely from the experience that Honors College gave us, coupled with the NAGEM Center, which is, I don't know if you know what the NAGEM Center is, and you could probably do
absolutely.
There you go. Yeah,
Harvey NAGEM is a household name in this city.
Yeah, makes sense.
One of the most generous philanthropists out there, and made his fortune in computers and technology, and has been giving back ever since.
And I will say, with the NAGEM Center, that wasn't the only program they offered. There were, I want to say, at least 4 other programs they were doing at the same time, whether you were a budding entrepreneur or somebody looking to do research prior to a graduate program. So that's how I got the unique internship. For the Yahoo internship, that was also UTSA experience, although it was a little separate from Honors College. It was with the Business Honors Program. They're not exactly Honors College, but I think they work together on a lot of things. And what Business Honors does is they'll bring in prospective employers to come talk to the Business Honors students, probably like every week. And
this is at the Alvarez College of Business.
Yes, yeah. And so I got to meet with one of the high-level VPs over at Yahoo when he came in to talk.
That's remarkable.
It was really cool. And it was purely from me pulling him aside and saying, hey, you talked about something that your team does. I think it's really cool. Is there any way we can connect? And with that, I built a mentorship-mentee relationship, and then asked him if there was space on his team for an internship. And they also created an internship position just because of that experience. So it's kind of crazy, the opportunities that came up. And that was my first semester at UTSA. Kind of crazy, the opportunities that came up. And I also will say, I'm getting college credit for both of these internships. So I'm not missing out on any part of my education to do these things. And I think that's absolutely amazing, especially for a non-traditional student who needs to get a job while also balancing the, getting the degree. That was something that I'm definitely thankful for.
Jill, these are incredible, narratives. I consider myself a supporter of the Honors College, but I don't think I've had a full appreciation of the opportunities people are getting there. And I just wonder how much our community understands what's available at UTSA and the Honors College, because I know the tradition is always people in high school that are high-performing students are looking at UT Austin, or they're looking at A&M in College Station, and maybe Texas Tech and Lubbock. But right here at home, these are remarkable pathways for students to consider.
I entirely agree. I think that the narrative has been changing for some time, and I think the integration is going to help a lot with that. I think students are going to be drawn to UTSA in ways that they have not necessarily been in the past, but I also think it's about the visibility of the students like Brandon and like Vicki, and there are many, many more, and it's telling their story because I think that's what is most compelling. One thing I wanted to follow up on is they both mentioned honors programs. So most of our colleges have an honors program that allows students to go deep within their major, and the other colleges are developing them with the Honors College. So when you're a student in the Honors College, you're not only in the Honors College, you're also in your major college.
Your respective college.
Right. And so that allows you, if you don't have to be in your college honors program, but if you want to go deep into your major, that's the way to do it. And then half of your honors college requirements are fulfilled by participating in that. And then when Vicki was talking about the legislative fellows and the Archer Fellowship programs being fully funded, that's something that the Honors College also worked in partnership with the other colleges and said, how can we make money not an issue for students so they're not losing wages, or they can make up for lost wages and all of the extra expense that spending a semester in Austin and a semester in DC do. And so all of the colleges got together. And so while the Honors College runs those programs, it's in partnership with all of the other academic colleges at UTSA too. And that's emblematic of how UTSA works. How can we leverage all of our resources together in order to benefit students?
Yeah, I think the financial aspect of this is really important. And both of you in your remarks mentioned different scholarships and financial assistance that's made possible what otherwise wouldn't have been possible. I don't know your family circumstances, but will both of you graduate with relatively little debt, or will you have high debt?
No debt.
Yeah.
No debt.
No debt as well. And I'm not even using my military benefits for my time here, so no debt.
I hope people are listening carefully to that who have college-age students about to get out of high school and going, because it's remarkable how the institutions are pivoting to give qualified students the opportunity to attend school, not to have to drop out to work and raise money, but more importantly, not to graduate with really burdensome levels of debt.
I agree. And I've got one thing to say, but then I want to also turn it back over to Brandon, because Brandon came from Alamo Colleges as well. That's part of his story too.
So I came from Alamo Colleges. I got my associates in biological sciences from there. Last year, I graduated from there. And I will say, I think a lot of people, when they first start out college, or when their kid is going to go to college, you think of the pinnacle of college, right? Like you have to go to these top tier schools in order to get a quality education, and the investment's always going to be worth it. But I think, as we all know, that's not always the case, right? There was, I don't remember which article or which newspaper published it, but the value for college especially for minorities, I think it's when they measure the wealth disparity. The value for college is not as apparent as it used to be. And it levels out when you're going to a state school or community college to kind of bridge that cost. But as I said in the beginning, sometimes college is just, and not for UTSA, but is just a signal to employers that I've done what I need to do to be considered employable. You don't need to pay, $70,000, $50,000 a year to do that, right? You can go to a state school and clearly have these solid experiences. And I'll go into the experiences I had in Alamo, because I was surprised what a community college could offer as well. But you could have these amazing experiences and be incredibly competitive, both from a academic but also a experiential standpoint, without paying top dollar to go to one of few prestige positions at like Harvard or wherever.
And did you receive your associate's degree from the Alamo colleges without incurring debt?
Yes, yeah. I did use my education benefits at first, but then I realized it was so cheap I didn't have to do that. And so yes, no debt incurred from Alamo colleges, from San Antonio College specifically.
Jill, do you have to engage in development, in fundraising, and or do you have somebody in the Honors College that does that on behalf of the Honors College? How does that work? And I know even within UTSA, there must be competing interests for scarce resources, because there isn't any organization, right?
Right. Lots to unpack there. Yes. So I definitely do development work, and I do it in conjunction with my Chief Development Officer, Corey Cowart. And what it really is about, though, is getting out in the community and telling the story about the Honors College and the students that we serve within it. One of the great things about being in the Honors College is that we are not in competition with other colleges, because all of their students are also our students. I mentioned partnerships earlier, and we have partnerships across all of our colleges for pathways into honors. So the College of Liberal and Fine Arts, for example, this is not development related, but it's recruitment related. Glenn Martinez, who's the dean, identified schools and ISDs along the border that have incredible AP Spanish students. And we worked together to find on-ramps for those students to both UTSA as well as the Honors College. The leadership course that you've come and visited before, I'm teaching that with the Dean for the Health, Community, and Policy College, Len Kosman. And I can just go on and on. So it's really about taking the students who want to do more with their UTSA degree. And those are colleges from all colleges, and those are the students that we serve. So there's not really competition with respect to that.
Well, when you talk about establishing a goal of building the Honors College student body up to 10%, and I think UTSA is, 30,000 plus at this point?
Correct.
Total. Is that a matter of dollars and cents that you have for scholarships and all these programs, or what keeps you from getting, say, from 2,600 to say, well, let's add 400 more?
Right now, it's getting the story out about the Honors College. I can do more for more students if we have more scholarship dollars. So we can have even more students do the Archer Fellowship if we can have more scholarship dollars. And so that, to me, is really where development comes in. I can continue to deliver more and better through our team and with our students if there's more development funds. Is the way to think about it.
So we mentioned Harvey Najam, and obviously the major philanthropists in the city, when they make a major gift, that generates headlines. But the fact is people of much more modest means can, successful leaders in the community can contribute. And what is the base for establishing an endowed scholarship these days? It's
$25,000, and it doesn't have to be from a single person. It could be somebody. It could be 10 different individuals, 100 different individuals that want to set that up. And what's important about those is each one you can target where you want those to go. So you could look at our whole portfolio of experiential learning and say, I want it to go to internships. For example, we have a summer program right now where we provide scholarships for students who are in or underfunded research assistantships and internships, because we know, again, we don't want them to have lost wages. Right now, I would love to grow that 5-10 times the size. And that's something that we could do for scholarship dollars if those endowments wanted to be targeted toward those.
If somebody was considering establishing one of those, Jill, what would you tell them is the return on investment there? What are they accomplishing by establishing a $25,000 scholarship? They might think that's not going to do anything.
I think if you talk to students, including Brandon and Vicki, every single dollar counts. And the more that we can, as the Honors College, provide courses. In fact, even our funding, the funding in the Honors College also supports the experiential learning. And I'd love to talk about a couple of our courses that are amazing. And we pay for all of those costs, so students don't have to pay for the additional costs that can sometimes.
Give us some examples.
I have so many. So one that is truly transformative for our students is taught by Dr. Mel Webb, and it's a partnership between the College of Liberal and Fine Arts and the Honors College. And Dr. Webb takes UTSA students interested in philosophies and literature surrounding justice and our carceral system and takes them to Dominguez State Jail. And they go inside the jail and learn alongside in a peer education model with incarcerated scholars. So they're writing and they're reading poetry and essays about what justice is and what justice looks like and the personal histories of those. That's one course. But
what's an incarcerated scholar, please?
So it's somebody who is incarcerated who has the very intentional commitment to being in a classroom setting and learning. Another example is we have a sustainable living and intentional living program that starts with about a week and a half in Costa Rica off the grid. Where students are in a sustainability course for farming and animal husbandry as well. And they also have to do yoga in the rainforest at least once a day.
Who wouldn't sign up for that?
Well, you live in a bunkhouse without screens. It is lovely, but it is not a hotel situation or a spring break situation. And then the students come back and apply those principles in San Antonio to see how San Antonio is also trying to do work around sustainable urban living. And so we cover all of the costs except $500. So that includes plane fare, much what Vicki was talking about, plane fare, all of the curriculum, all of the lodging and the meals. And then we also have an experiential learning award that students can apply for $500. So a student could go, and it's intentionally short, so students who work and who are caregiving can find the time to be able to go. So those are just 2 examples of our courses. I have many more that I could talk about.
Well, I find that you guys are bringing a very creative approach to learning and redefining what the classroom is. I've been out there with other community leaders like former Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf to talk to students, and they're obviously getting great travel opportunities. Tell our audience a little bit about something that you and I have cooked up where we hope by the end of the semester to have some student co-hosts here.
Absolutely. So the backstory to know is that when you have these, I talked about these 6 experiences that students have to do in the Honors College in order to graduate from the Honors College. You can do those in the courses, like I explained. You can do them individually. You can create your own, or you can do them in small group. And Brandon described one with the Honors NAGEM strategist. But there's another kind called a guided experience. And what we do here is we take a problem or an issue or an opportunity in the community, and we upskill and uptrain students to be able to address that problem or that issue. However, there are times like this one when I have somebody like Bob Rivard say, hey, it might be really interesting to have some student co-hosts. And so the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and I sit down and say, now, what would that look like? How could students build out experiential learning that has academic rigor with application and reflection and does something good for the community? And so our students are working with one of our vice presidents of communication at UTSA to understand the production of podcasts, to be able to learn how to pitch a story, and then they're going to pitch you the story, and then you get to choose which ones you want to co-host with.
And are they identifying potential interview targets?
Absolutely. Yep. They're running the whole gamut. And really what it is a journalism and communications course that's happening outside of a standard student credit hour model. And so they're still getting a course worth of experience and content and application, but they're doing it without having to enroll in a course.
Well, we look forward to hearing more about that as the semester progresses. I think in April, we're going to be focused on the mayor's race here. There's only 27 people on the ballot.
Just that.
And but come maybe early May, we'll be able to circle back and see how that progressed and whether or not it resulted in something that we can put on air.
It'd be very exciting to see.
Bob,
yes,
if I go back to one of the previous points maybe before we get too far off?
Absolutely.
You talked about how $25,000, how that might not seem like it's a lot. But I'd like to contextualize a little bit that of the student experience. A lot of the guys that I've talked to, I mean, we talk about maybe, $1,000 distributed across them. That would be a huge deal. $1,000 over 4 years, that's, $4,000. That's 6 students. Doesn't sound like a lot, but some of the students that I hang out with, that I talk to, that I work with, that's the difference between rent, being closer to school versus driving an hour from Floresville to go to class. That's one way, right? And maybe 2 ways, it's 2 hours every day. That's the difference between them having to work at Walmart for a job versus being able to get the opportunity to do an internship. And I really wanted to solidify that because I have friends that have to make that decision, especially when we talk about young Latino men here in San Antonio. There's already a cultural issue where, it's believed that if you're taking money to go to college, you're doing something wrong. If you're not working and you're not providing to the family, then you as a young Latino man here in San Antonio, you're doing something wrong. And so that small difference of scholarship can be the difference between them even going to college and not going to college. So I really just wanted to harp on that point a bit from some of the experiences I've had or my friends have had at UTSA.
No, I think that's a really important point, and convincing families that don't have a college graduate yet that school is an investment and not an expense is a hurdle that we all have to work on to continue doing that. Let me ask the two of you. I assume you both own automobiles because we're a car-centric city, and you both live off campus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Close to campus or far?
I'm about 15 minutes away.
I live pretty close to campus.
Okay. How do you finance your your living expenses, automobile, gas, rent, utilities, spending money, groceries?
Luckily my dad is able to help finance that on top of, the scholarship that I already get. And I usually do work a job. So those three things together help to finance, but the apartments close to campus, UTSA has a shuttle service. So instead of having to drive back and forth to every class, pay for gas, find parking, I just hop on the shuttle and then, I'm right on campus.
For me, my wife is active duty military, so she's the primary breadwinner of the house. But I've worked probably every semester that I've been in college. That's why I was very thankful to have these internships that also are paying, but also count for college credit. Because I don't have the luxury of just like pausing my college journey, and I don't have the luxury of not working during it. I have 2 children, so I have to pay for not just.
How old are your kids?
I got an 11-year-old daughter and 11-month-old son.
I think you actually fit the profile of a lot of students that are at the Alamo colleges and the public universities here, which are, married, children, having to work. And if I understand, both of you have said you have done or are doing, you're working for outside internships. In other words, paying. What kind of work are you doing?
So for the Yahoo, I'm helping do product, I guess, management. So we're doing, revenue modeling. We're doing the.
But you're being
I don't
paid.
have all the teams. Yes, I'm being paid for it, and then I'm also doing research and kind of project management for the other internship.
Is that like an hourly wage?
Yes. So I get about $25 an hour at Yahoo.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a big step up from what I was doing before, and then $15 an hour with Pathfinder Insurance that I'm doing the other internship with.
Vicki?
So last semester, the Honors College actually created a job for me and some other students who did the Archer Fellowship program. So the application for the Archer Fellowship is a personal statement, a policy paper, and then a list and justification of internships that you want to apply to. And, a lot of students apply because they're interested in going to DC and getting that experiential learning. So the Honors College hired me to review people's applications, provide advice, meet with people one-on-one and tell them about the program. So that's about $15 an hour, and it's really flexible. So, I can take my classes, focus on studying for the LSAT and getting into law school and, earn money too.
If I can add to that's a really good example of how we are exceedingly student forward. We were thinking about how can we build the recruitment for the Archer Fellowship, and the person who runs it, Christy Myers, said, well, what we should do is have students talk to students. So let's create an Archer ambassadorship program and incentivize students for it as well, because they should be incentivized and paid for the work that they're doing. And that's how that program was born. And Vicki was one of our first Archer ambassadors.
All right. Jill, when I attended UTSA, it was very much a commuter school, and probably 97% of the students were, if not from Bexar County and the surrounding counties, from South Texas. But now we encounter students like Vicki and Brandon who are from out of state. And in fact, there's no shortage of students that are from out of country. And I wonder, do you track at all how many of those students end up being brain gained for San Antonio upon graduation and stay in the city, or if not in the city, in the region?
In development. So we have some indirect measures of it. We are working on more direct measures. For example, I just looked at, since 2019, how many UTSA honors students have graduated from UT Health Science Center. And that's for another presentation. And there were 140, and I think about,
these are students that went on to medical school, dental school,
PhD and OT, and most often where you train for your health sciences profession is where you stay. So that's as I mentioned, that's an indirect measure. But what I do know is that the more students do internships in a city, and this is just national data, the more they do sustained service learning in a city, the far more likely they are to stay in the city. One of the other things we have done, and part of our intentional community in the Honors College, is that students have to attend 3 events per semester to get priority for our funding. And we created an Honors in the City event because we also knew that it's not only working in the city, but it's playing and living in the city. And so we fund all of these. We take a group of 50 students, and this is through somebody's generous donation, to the ballet each semester, and they meet with the ballet dancers afterward, as well as a choreographer. So they're getting the full gamut. They volunteer for the Fiesta Arts Fair, and then they go to the Fiesta Arts Fair. San Antonio Botanical Gardens. We've gone to some sports games as well. And so what we're really focused on is how do we create engagement, experiential learning opportunities that fulfill both the academic and the professional, but also the social, because we want students to extend and see San Antonio as their place to live and to play and to give back.
That's wonderful. Not to put you two on the spot, but is San Antonio in your future? Brandon, we'll start with you, and you may end up going wherever your wife is deployed, I assume.
Yeah, well, she's thinking that maybe this is the last duty station. San Antonio is somewhere we've grown to love. I will say, especially after being a part of Alamo Colleges and getting really involved in the community. I do really like San Antonio, but having an 11-month-old baby, home is kind of calling to us as well. So it depends. We'll see where things end up and how the housing market also is in Seattle after this. So, yeah.
How much more school do you have to do here?
I'll graduate next spring. So not this year, but the following.
So you have another, you're on the cusp of graduation. And of course, you're going to take your gap year. And so you may be traveling far and wide. But do you anticipate going back to Maryland, Vicki, or is San Antonio your new home, or who knows where you'll end up?
Yeah, right now it's a kind of who knows, everything's up in the air. I'm definitely going to apply for law school at St. Mary's. I think a lot of politics and law, political science majors at UTSA who are interested in law school definitely apply to St. Mary's.
Now that you can explain the state budget to all of us, it seems to me you're deeply invested in Texas after your time in Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I love Texas. My boyfriend's a firefighter and he lives up in Round Rock. So, might move there, might, do Fulbright in Vietnam. But yeah, right now everything's up in the air. But I'm definitely not opposed to coming back and settling down in San Antonio.
We can help him with firefighting here in San Antonio. We have a big firefighting department. And he could move here. Well, we're running out of time, but it's been great to visit with both of you. And Jill, thank you so much for bringing a couple of honors college students with us, because there's just so much energy to seeing young people that are doing wonderful things and on their own career paths with so much ahead of you.
They give me so much hope every day.
Well, thank you all three for coming on to Big City, Small Town.
Thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Please share this episode with friends and colleagues, and do sign up for our new newsletter, Monday Musings. Big City, Small Town is brought to you by Western Urban, building the city our children want to call home, and Geekdom, where startups are born and smart ideas become businesses. Our producer is Corey Ames, video by Erica Rempel, sound engineering by Alfie De La Garza of Sound Crane Audio. We will see you next week.